Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Make sure to subscribe for more daily Yu-Gi-Oh content. Today we're looking at the new cards that are being released from Cyber Style Structure Deck. As you are aware, they won in the competition for polling, and I think that's really good. Obviously, Gusto, the archetype, was forgotten. That came in second place, and that might get some release future. But we're here to cover these new cards. So the first card is Cyber Dark End Dragon. This is a Dark Attribute Machine type fusion monster. It's a level 12 with 5,000 attack and 3,800 defense. And it requires a Cyber Dark Dragon and a Cyber End Dragon to be summoned. Must be either fusion summoned or special summoned by attributing one level 10 or lower Cyber Dark Fusion monster equipped with Cyber End Dragon. 1. It's unaffected by any effect activated by your opponent. 2. Once per turn, you can equip one monster from either graveyard to this card. And 3. This card's maximum number of attacks per battle phase equals the number of cards equipped to it. Right, so as for how this card is, it's meant to be like a towers for the archetype. It's meant to be something that your opponent can't really get over, unless they put a lot of resources into purely getting rid of this card. The attack and defense stat line is because it's actually a merge of the two stat lineups of both Cyber End Dragon and Cyber Dark Dragon. With Cyber End, it's got 4,000 attack and 2,800 defense, whereas Cyber Dark has 1,000 attack and defense. So it's nice that it's actually combined the two stat lineups. You find with fusion monsters, they end up being slightly weaker than the combined total of those monsters used as fusion materials. As for the effect, it's different. It prevents it, it stops it from being affected by anything your opponent is activating, but for continual effects, this card is still going to be under those of something that happened in third season of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Burden of the Mighty. You might think, well, that card doesn't really exist these days. People don't really use that card. But potentially they might for this type of strategy. Remember, it damages your monster for its attack 100 times its level. So this being a level 12 would lose 1,200 attack points to Burden of the Mighty. If you use other cards as well to suppress this card, it's absolutely going to be affected by those cards. It's still being able to be affected by being destroyed in battle. So if your opponent is able to go into I think it's Utopia the Lightning, that can just crash into this card, no sweat, and your opponent is not able to do anything about it. The secondary ability I think is nice because it allows you to equip monsters from either graveyard. So if you're concerned about what your opponent is playing, you can always just absorb those monsters. And as was seen within, I think it was Yu-Gi-Oh! Zeal, where it was Quinton and Trey who absorbed Galaxy Eye's Tachyon Dragon. I remember it was Mistral got very annoyed that he could no longer access his card because it had been equipped to, I think it was the Chaos form of number 6, Chronomaly Atlantis, had already absorbed it, couldn't do anything, and that's the same kind of story with this card. The third effect is just pairing off the second ability to be able to attack multiple times. The nice thing about it is it doesn't have to be on monsters. These can be direct attacks, which is often a downside of many of the monsters that can attack multiple times. Think of something like Ultimate Conductor Tyranno that can only attack a number of times, but those have to be on monsters. And the same goes with Ultimate Tyranno. Next, we have Cyber Dark Chimera. This is Dark Attribute Machine type effect monster. It's level 4 with 800 attack and 2,100 defense. You can only use this card's name's first and second effects once per turn each. 1. You can discard one spell or trap card, add one power bond from your deck to your hand. Also, you cannot use monsters as fusion material for the rest of this turn, except dragon or machine cyber monsters, and once if you fusion summon this turn, you can also use monsters in your graveyard as fusion material by banishing them. 2. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send one Cyber Dark monster from your deck to the graveyard with a name different from the cards in your graveyard. Again, this isn't too unpredictable or unexpected that we get a Cyber Dark card. Do I think it's one of the more powerful ones? No. Do I think it's a decent effect? Yes, I think it's okay. The first ability to actually search for Power Bond is something that the pure Cyber Dragons have wanted for ages. I don't think they wanted it to be in the Cyber Style deck, which is the combination of the Cyber Dragons and the Cyber Darks, because actually that just muddles things up. I think Cyber Dragons prefer to just have a pure build to them. The condition for fusion summoning using monsters from your graveyard isn't a bad one, because actually there are ways of getting those monsters into the graveyard. Think of traps like Power Wall, or even within their own archetype, they can send cards to the graveyard pretty easily. As for the secondary effect, being able to send another Cyberdark monster from your deck to the graveyard means you're that much easier going to be able to bring out your Cyberdark Dragon to begin with. If everything is trying to be built to make it easier to summon that big boss monster. And of course, we have the final card, which is Cybernetic Horizon. Notice with this card, this is actually the set that the newer Cyberdark cards actually came out of. I like the idea of introducing those in the same way as you've got monsters that use their attacks and actually have spell equivalents like Inferno Fire Blast. This is a normal spell card, and this card is also always treated as a Cyberdark card. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. You cannot special summon monsters from the Etch deck the turn you activate this card, except machine monsters. 1. Send 2 dragon and or machine cyber monsters with different attributes to the graveyard, 1 from your hand and 1 from your deck. Add 1 dragon or machine cyber monster from your deck to your hand, and if you do, send 1 machine cyber fusion monster from your Etch deck to the graveyard. So this is the way you try and get your cyber end dragon into the graveyard without having to summon it first, and being able to meet the condition to bring out the boss monster. It also means by pitching the various monsters that you're able to go into some of the requirements very easily. I would notice that with the cyber monsters, the cyber dragons, they're all lights, and the cyber darks are all darks. So this, at the moment, just basically tells you you have to send a cyber dragon and a cyber dark monster to the graveyard to meet the condition. The searching effect also is not too bad, but do I think this is a particularly good effect? No, I don't. It does mention as a final part as well that there are a number of cards that are not considered machine cyber monsters due to their OCG names being a bit different. These are Cyber Stein, Cyber Falcon, Cyber Tech Alligator, Cybersaurus, and Cyber Soldier of Darkworld. I would not be concerned about that because all except for Cyberstein, I think, are normal monsters. Cyberstein, I think, is a 700 attack monster with 500 defense, which lets you bring out a fusion monster at the cost of about 5,000 of your life points. Cyber Falcon, I think, has 1,400 attack and 1,200 defense. Cyber Tech Alligator is I think it's either a level 5 or a level 6 monster, and it's got 2,500 attack. Cybersaurus, I think, is a fusion monster with 1,800 attack. And Cyber Soldier of Darkworld, I think, is also a 1,400 attack monster. None of them are impressive, and it doesn't matter that they're not involved in the cyber style. And it mentions here that, of course, you need to have the reprint, so you've got Cyber Dragon, Cyber Dark Horn, Cyber Dark Edge, Cyber Dark Heel, and you've got Power Bond as well as Cyber End Dragon and Cyber Dark Dragon. So what do you think of these cards? Is there anything that has impressed you? Did you really like the Cyber Dragons? Or do you think this merging of them is not useful for making them competitive? Whatever you think, leave those comments down below.